What's up, Penguins fans? Happy Monday, November 21st. The Penguins on a 3-game winning streak and have also won 5 out of their last 7. They're 1 point out of a wild card spot and 2 points out of second place. But today's episode, it's going to at least start with a big ode to Evgeni Malkin in his 1,000th game. We're going to get into everything about that game against the Chicago Blackhawks, a lot of it from Geno's perspective, seeing how just it was an amazing moment with his son, reading the pregame lineup, Geno scoring in that game, how he has 71, how he has at least a point in 71% of those 1,000 games. That's just so poetic, and we're going to get into at least my favorite moments of the Evgeni Malkin era, and just, why he means so much, to me as someone who grew up with him as a kid, and why I think he means so much to you all as well. After that, we're going to get into the win against the Winnipeg Jets and why the Penguins played lockdown defense. And of course, we'll get into the overall win against Chicago and how the Penguins were able to get their first win in Chicago in 13 years. And we'll look ahead to this week's action as the Penguins try to continue this little hot streak. So that's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at @Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Penguins 5, Blackhawks 3, but of course, the main story of the night, Evgeni Malkin's 1,000th game. A moment that, we've all been waiting for a long time. Probably should have happened a lot sooner if it weren't for some of his injuries, but a moment that I'm really glad I was able to watch live, and I think a lot of you all were, you're all were glad to able to watch live as well. From the pregame warmups with everyone doing his routine, they kind of did the same with Sid for his 1,000th game last year, and of course Malkin's going to get honored on Wednesday when the Penguins play the Calgary Flames on obviously the day before Thanksgiving. But seeing them do that, Geno was loving it. He was just smiling the entire time, and then right before they're going onto the ice, after warmups, Nikita, Malkin's 7-year-old son at this point. I mean, I remember, hell, man, I was 2015. I'm pretty sure I was a senior in high school when that kid was born. He's all of a sudden 7 years old now. I'm 25. Just feels really weird. Time has just flown by with that. And he's reading the lineup, and he looks so poised doing it. It says Pettersson's name, Letang's name, Jason Zucker, Brian Rust, and then obviously said his dad, and Geno's there just crying his eyes out. I mean, it was just a really special moment for him that that his son and his wife Anna were able to fly out for the game. And then, obviously he scores in the game. He gets the second goal to make it 2-0 for a brief period of time. And Ryan Poehling, really nice pass to get to Malkin, and his celebration was just a pure joy. I mean, you all had to know that Malkin was going to score in this game, right? I mean, it's poetic. And Malkin, one of the 5 best players in this franchise's history, probably a top 50 player in NHL history. And the best part about what I love about how Geno is playing this year is he's shutting up a lot of his critics from this past offseason. This moment, it wasn't for those people that wanted to run him out of town, that wanted to put Vince Trocheck in or Andrew Kopp over him. No, it's for the people that have stayed loyal to him over these last 16 to 17 years, and who have just loved watching him bring so much joy to their lives ever since he came into the league, back in 2005 and back in 2006, and all that stuff. Obviously, it wasn't, Sid's rookie years right after that, but still, just an incredible, night for him. And, he's had so many great moments for this franchise over the years. My favorite Malkin goal, I think if I had to pick one, Game 2, Carolina 2009, when Joe Bettinati, has Evgeni Malkin, spectacular for the hat trick, comes around the net, has Seidenberg on his back, no look backhand, roofs it past Cam Ward. I mean, that was beast mode Geno to a T. He willed that team to a victory in that series. He was probably, I shouldn't even say probably, he was the best player on the ice that series. And honestly, that entire run, he played like the best player in hockey. He was one of, if not the main reason why the Penguins won the Stanley Cup that year. He was on another planet. My second favorite Malkin goal, if I had to pick one throughout his first 1,000 games, and hopefully there's many, many more to come, is when Malkin was cherry picking against the Flyers back in 2008. He just got walloped from behind the net by Mike Richards, and same thing, Joe Beninati. Malkin, basket hanging, in solo, winds and scores. Evgeni Malkin says, take that. And I have that call just itched in my memory ever since, the last 14 years. And it was the perfect, it was just the perfect way to symbolize who Geno was, because he got hit pretty hard, looked like he was hurt, was obviously pissed off about it. Cherry picks at the blue line, gets the puck, and says, I'm going to score, and there's nothing you can freaking do about it, and I'm going to line up a slap shot. And he sure did on both those. And the celebration he had was just pure relief. I was honestly surprised he didn't give Marty Baron or Mike Richards the double bird after that. Just and because the camera, it panned to Richards as he was on one knee being like, what more do I need to do to get him off his game? And Malkin was just like, nothing. You piss me off, and this is what I'm going to do. Those are, I think, my two favorite Malkin goals throughout his career. Another one that comes to mind, he goes 1-on-5 against the Lightning. I believe that was 2011. He's galloping up the ice, does a between the legs dangle, goes backhand, forehand, stick side. Just a beautiful goal. I believe that goal made it 5-1 Penguins over the Lightning. Another goal that obviously comes to mind, he roofed it against the Edmonton Oilers about 7 years ago. Picks, I believe it was Clefbaum's pocket, and comes into the zone, backs up, skates backwards, and then just fires a no look backhand, bar down past the Oilers goaltender. Just a vintage Malkin goal. And then the fifth one, I think he scored this against the Avalanche, a very similar one to the Lightning one. Just, is in the offensive zone, knifes through 2 to 3 guys, goes backhand, forehand, and he gets tripped on the play. No penalty was called, still scored it, and he had an amazing celebration. So, those are probably my 5 favorite Malkin goals. I could probably talk about so many other goals for 2 hours if I could on this podcast. This guy came back on one knee in the 2021 playoffs, 6 points in 4 games, came back from really bad elbow surgery in 2015-16, had to miss game 1 of that series against the Rangers, comes back, plays the full playoff run, and was one of their best players. Same thing for 2016-17, was just on an absolute mission. That run could have easily won the Conn Smythe. I know they gave it to Sid, but they could have given it to Geno. But when he's excuse me, I will say this, when he is on top of his game, when he was in his peak, no one was better than him. And that's someone who has, said Sidney Crosby's been the best player in the world for most years of his career. But when Malkin was on his game and you couldn't get the puck off him, no one could touch him. I know sometimes that wasn't the case. He was maybe a top 5, top 10 player in the world. But in his peak, in those prime years, when he was on his game, especially that season when Sid was out and he did it all by himself, he was the best player in hockey. And he has shown that time and time again throughout his Penguins tenure. And, he's given this franchise everything. Heck, you all remember, it was a hassle for him to even get over here from Russia. And there was a time where it looked like he maybe was not even going to come over here just because of that whole situation. But, he was able to, and the Penguins have been better off for it ever since. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I had to mute my mic for the cough. But just, I've run out of I've honestly run out of words to just describe Evgeni Malkin at this point. And yeah, I know some people will say, well, this just means the end is coming. And sure, it is. But, we're also taking the time to celebrate what a great career he's had. And we did the same for Sidney Crosby last season. We're going to do the same thing for Kris Letang later this season because he's only about 40 games away from his 1,000th game. But he's given this franchise and you fans everything. 3 Stanley Cups, Hart Trophy, a Calder Trophy, an Art Ross Trophy, so many other awards that he's won. He's done it all. And he'd obviously want to be the only Russian to win a 4th Stanley Cup, and he's working towards that goal. But right now, it's hard to argue that, he hasn't given everything to this franchise. And so, Geno, congratulations on 1,000 games. You've played your tail off all season. You played great last night. And, from the bottom of my heart, as someone who has watched your career ever since I was a little kid in elementary school, here's to hopefully 1,000 more games. Man, I really appreciate, just watching you do your thing on a nightly basis. And I think the fans that listen to this show, they also appreciate it as well. So just a great ceremony. I'm sure Wednesday night is going to be awesome. He's going to be up in the rafters at PPG Paints Arena one day, and I will surely be at that game for that, to say the least. So again, congratulations, 1,000 games. That night was yours, and it was great that you scored, and it was also great that the Penguins got the win. So that wraps up this first segment for the show. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into the Chicago game as a whole and how the Penguins were able to withstand a barrage there at the end from the Blackhawks. But before we get to that, did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package theft spiked nationally? That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. You can order your Simply Safe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. They were named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report. That is a third year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get priority police response. It's whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. You also have HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, and you have smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Do not miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I recommend. You can get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There is no safe like Simply Safe. All right, I'm back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Eleanor Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's get into that game overall. Outside of Geno's 1,000th game and his goal, a 5-3 win for your Pittsburgh Penguins, 3 wins in a row. Again, they've won 5 of their last 7. I will just say this. I think the demise of this team was a little bit exaggerated by some people. They've clawed their way back into the thick of things. Yes, they're out of a playoff spot right now, but obviously there's still work to be done, but they've righted the ship. They've gotten 11 out of a possible 14 points. In their last 7 games, they're also 2 points out of second place. Everything is mostly okay right now. You still want them to keep winning games and get back into playoff spot, but they've saved their season, at least for now. This was badly needed. And they got their first win in Chicago in 13 years. They were up 3-0. Squandered that 3-0 lead. They've been having trouble with leads all season for some reason. It's never a good look when you blow a 3-goal lead to one of the worst teams in the league, a team that's legitimately tanking for Connor Bedard. The Blackhawks are utterly atrocious. But the Penguins were able to get it back. Sidney Crosby was like, you know what? I'm not going to lose on the night that we're honoring my best friend. I'm going to will this team to victory. And he did exactly that by notching his 10th goal this season to make it 4-3. With 3 minutes left, Jeff Carter was able to add on the empty net goal. I thought this game, the Penguins, they were playing fine for a majority of it before I think the Blackhawks kind of started to pull away a little later on. And yeah, were the Penguins a little bit gassed? Sure. And again, another situation with 3 games in 4 nights. They're going to have to deal with that again later this week when they play Calgary on Wednesday, Philly Friday, and then Saturday. They'll host Toronto before, that's actually the start of a 5-game homestand, which is really exciting. But, they've been having a lot of these 3 games in 4 nights, even against a bad team like Chicago. It's hard to, have those full 60s, but still, the Penguins were able to get the win, and that's all that matters. When you look at natural stat trick, it was about 50-50 in terms of shot attempts. The Penguins did lead in scoring chances, 54.5% at 5v5. High danger, they led 73% of those. And then expected goals, they did have 53% of those. But still, I thought the third period, they kind of got outplayed a little bit, even if the numbers don't say that. I thought there was too much time in the defensive zone, and that obviously led to the Blackhawks tying the game with only a few minutes left. Just a really bad goal, I thought, from Casey DeSmith to allow. But this team also did a lot right. They get the first goal just a minute into the game. Brock McGinn, just another goal. I mean, he's had goals in 5 of his last 7 games. Basically goals in almost 3 straight now. He's playing excellent hockey. Andrew, I know you listen on the YouTube page. You were pumping up Brock's tires when I was kicking him down just because he wasn't playing that well. But you said, you know what, it's going to turn around, and he did. And he's turned it around in a big way. So I will gladly eat crow on this. I have no problem with doing that. He's playing like the Brock McGinn we saw in the first half of last regular season, and sure, could Ron Hextall look to trade him for a premium return? He could, but again, I don't really think he's going to at this point. Just keep him on the third line right now. He's playing really good hockey. His shot is on another level right now. He's also shooting 20%. Is that going to be sustainable? No, but you ride that until that falls off. But this is some of McGinn's best hockey that I've seen him play, and he's giving this team some quality depth scoring that they weren't having a lot during that 7-game losing streak. But since then, he's been one of the team's best players, and is top 5, top 6 in the team in goals right now, and again has goals in 3 straight games. So really nice job from McGinn overall. And Rickard Rakell, he gets another goal. I think he's been one of their best players all season. I was fine with the first half of the extension. I wasn't happy with the AAV that he got. Again, I'm eating crow on the Rakell deal. He's been one of their best players so far. I thought he would be good after coming over. I didn't think he'd be this good, where he'd be playing top line minutes every night and being a better option than Brian Rust. I still would have him on the top power play over Rust at this point, but he's making those minutes count, and he's playing very well, to say the least. Sid, what more needs to be said about Sidney Crosby? He's been phenomenal. I knew that he was going to turn it around, even after I criticized him a little bit, because I did say, not playing his good brand of hockey right now. But it's Sid. This is what great players do. They're off for a few games, but then they come back and they play great for the rest of their season. Last 3 games, 10 points. He's top 10 in scoring right now, leads the team in scoring by a wide margin. This is what an all-time great player does. When your team needs a goal, especially in that situation last night, directly after the Blackhawks tied it, it looks like it's going to overtime. Who else is going to step up but Sid? He was a man on a mission these last 3 games, and he has just done his thing. And I'm obviously feeling really grateful that he is on the Penguins, and I think you all that listen to the show, you all are feeling really grateful as well. So another great game from Sid, and I'm sure he's going to continue this throughout the rest of the regular season. Carter was able to get the empty netter. I thought outside of that, didn't really play that well, but if he's not making bad plays, I think he's fine at this point. Also, I will say this, Ryan Poehling, another really strong game. I think that's 3 to 4 good games in a row from him at this point. He's starting to intrigue me a little bit. I think he's someone that, if he's on his game like you've seen in these last 3 to 4 games, he can provide a scoring boost to this team. Had that great pass to Malkin for the Penguins' second goal, which is a really nice job forechecking there as well. So I've been impressed with him these last few games. It looks like they could have a player in him, but I still want to see more consistency from him overall. Teddy Bluger, he continues to be great. The penalty kill continues to be very stellar. It's in the top half of the league now. That was one of the biggest keys to getting this thing turned around, Jens. It was at the bottom of the league. You cannot have both special teams units at the bottom of the league and think you can win in this league. You have to have at least one of those units playing well, and right now it's the penalty kill. There's time to get the power play back. Maybe I'll talk about that a little later on in this episode, but right now, penalty kill, it's killing off basically every power play with ease. They're back to being aggressive. They're not sitting, playing back, playing passive and all that. I know they do that, the little diamond thing, but right now it's actually looking like the unit we saw last season, where even when Tristan Jarry was not bailing them out, they were still killing penalties off with ease. So I've been really impressed with that unit these last 2.5 weeks. It was starting to turn around a little bit towards the end of that losing streak. It's really turned around these last 7 games. The Blackhawks power play didn't do a thing last night. Neither did the Winnipeg power play on Saturday, and then the game in Minnesota. Nothing happened there either. So, just a lot to like about that performance. I thought Casey DeSmith was good. Outside that third goal, that one can't go in. I think he's playing too deep in his net there. But, overall, a really sound win for the Penguins. Was it pretty? No. But, not all wins are going to be pretty. Sometimes you're kind of going to get a bit lucky to win. I think Soderblom made some good saves in the third period, but he also let up a couple of howlers. You take that. He doesn't even have 10 games of NHL experience. The Penguins, they use that to their advantage, and they're able to get the win. You have to beat the bad teams, even if it's on a back-to-back. The Penguins were able to do that, and they're better off for it. They swept the weekends back-to-back. That's the first time they've done that all year. And now things are looking up again, and I think the fan base is starting to not freak out as much anymore. So, fine performance. Was it their best? No. But again, you banked the 2 points. They've won their last 3. They're 2 points out of second in the Metro. I think there's not much else you can ask for right now. So, good win. That's really all I have to say about the Chicago game. Coming up in the next segment, we'll talk about the Winnipeg game a little bit, because I was really impressed by the Penguins in that game, like a lot, because that is a good Winnipeg team that they beat. Now, before I get to that, though, BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I'm back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes, all the show's Twitter, @Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. And yes, for those that are not on Twitter, I do have big news. I'm officially moving to Pittsburgh next week. My girlfriend and I will be going up. We'll be moving in next Thursday, Friday. We got a place about 15, 20 minutes outside the city, and there could be some potential, things podcast related that could be coming a little later on. I'm not going to get into them, but I'm hopeful, to say the least. But I'm fired up. I can't wait to move to the city. I can't wait to hopefully go to some practices and, just check out what their practice, especially on the power play, just because the power play has just been so bad this year. And I hopefully can't wait to go to a lot more games this year too. So I wanted to start off this segment by touching on that, and hopefully I can meet more of you at games and such. I think I kind of feel isolated down here doing the podcast in northern to central Virginia. But as for the game against Winnipeg, I thought the Penguins played a very sound game against the Jets. Did not really give them anything. If I can find that game here, I went to the wrong thing on Natural Stat Trick. Whoopsies. I didn't really think the Penguins gave the Jets anything throughout those 16 minutes. Tristan Jarry had to make some good saves, but I didn't think he had to flat out rob any Jets players. Kyle Connor had some good chances, but he's Kyle Connor. He's going to get those chances. Jarry turned them aside. Dubois had a couple good chances. Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, but in the end, Jarry was able to outduel Hellebuck, and the Penguins were able to get that 3-0 shutout win. It was looking a bit dicey at times in the third period. I do think the Penguins were defending well until Connor Hellebuck just gave the Penguins a goal for free. He was having one heck of a game, too. I mean, I said this on my preview episode. He's a top 3 goaltender in the league, and you all saw that in the Saturday game, just making some dazzling saves when the Penguins were carrying play. Honestly, for the last 3 to 4 years, he has been the main reason why the Jets are in so many games and why they're in the playoff hunt every year. He is a difference maker at that position, and to me, only Igor Shesterkin and Andrei Vasilevsky are better than him. You can maybe make the argument that UC Saros is better. Personally, I don't think he is. I think Hellebuck is kind of in that 1A, 1B, 1C range as one of the best goaltenders in hockey. He was making some ridiculous saves. But in the end, the Penguins were able to get the win and skate away with it. Overall, Penguins, they controlled the shot attempt share, 54.5% at even strength. Scoring chances about 50-50. High danger chances were 50-50. That said, the Penguins did lead in expected goals at 59.4%. The game winner did go to Jason Zucker early on in the third period. What a rip of a slap shot with a give and go from Evgeni Malkin. And Zucker continues to have his torrid pace going this season. He has been ridiculous. And I'll keep saying it. This is the version of Zucker that the Penguins thought they were getting when they traded for him, and he's at a point per game pace now. He works extremely well with Malkin, and I think by the end of the season, if he stays healthy, he's going to score 20 to 25 this year. But what a rocket that was. Hellebuck, no chance at all on that shot. And then the Penguins were able to make it 2-0 late in the third period when, for some reason, Hellebuck decided to give the puck to Sidney Crosby. Don't know why. I guess he just panicked because he thought he was going to have a penalty. Brian Russ is able to bury his first goal in what felt like an eternity to make it 2-0. And then the empty net master, Jake Gensel, scores to make it 3-0. Overall, Penguins defended very well in that game. Tristan Jarry had an excellent game. I think that was his best start in about 2 to 3 weeks. And if he can continue to build off that, and that makes the Penguins that much more dangerous this season. I'm hoping that he does. But, it's one start, sure. But, again, it's definitely one that he could build off of, to say the least. I don't really have much more on that game against Winnipeg. PK was good. Power play continues to be meh. I mean, there really hasn't been that many negatives to talk about with the team lately. The power play, though, man, it stinks. Just nothing doing at all. I would love to see them make that change with Ross for Raquel. Zone entries continue to be bad. The overpassing continues to be annoying. Whenever they get a shot on net, it's just one and done. The puck goes back the other way. They're just not getting any sustained zone time on it. And it's very frustrating to watch. Kris Letang, he still needs to get his crap together. I'll say it. He's been bad. And Josh Yohe put out a very disturbing tweet. And I am also someone who does not like plus minus. I think it's a very useless stat. But when you're minus 10 overall and we're 20 games in the season, that's not good. And when you've had ample time away from Brian Dumoulin, who we all thought was the main problem on that pairing, and you're still a bad minus player, that's not good. It seems to me right now that even with Pettersson up there, really not making a difference. I don't know. It's weird. But he needs to find his game again if this team is going to make any noise this season. He is too important to this team to keep playing like absolute dog water. So the sooner he finds his game again, the better off this team will be. Again, keep saying until I'm red in the face, I do think he is going to find his game again. I just think, for some reason right now, he's just not at the top of his game. And, he's playing like crap at both ends of the rink. But, that's just my opinion on that. Otherwise, I think everyone on the team right now, for the most part, is really humming. To end the show, I will say, I did listen to the 32 Thoughts podcast from Elliot Friedman, and he did say that Ron Hextall is potentially working the phones to make a trade. If I had to guess, he's probably trying to dump Kapanen's $3.2 million cap hit. You don't want to keep scratching a guy that's making $3.2 million. I mean, you're just wasting cap space of that like that. I think he probably knows deep down he made a mistake with that deal. I've got to think so. It's just when Mike Sullivan has basically lost him. I mean, I'll repeat myself. When he's basically lost Mike Sullivan, who's really gone to bat for him over these last couple of seasons, and he really hasn't been getting into the lineup lately, I mean, I don't really know what else there's to do for him. I mean, are you going to waive him? And, if someone doesn't claim him, then you're sending him down to Wilkes-Barre, and that's $3.2 million of basically dead cap. So I got to think he's working on a trade for him. If not him, then maybe they're looking for another forward to come in to really balance out the lineup. But, it's good news that he's still looking into a trade even when the team is playing well. He's not just looking for a panic move or anything like that. But that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Wanted to end the show with that. Coming up later this week, so for Tuesday's episode, we're going to preview that game against the Calgary Flames. Going to maybe try to see if we can get Jess Belmosto or Nick Sararos on, because he's one of the new correspondents for Locked On Flames. Wednesday, we're going to recap the game against the Flames. Thursday, there might be an episode for Thanksgiving. Haven't decided yet if there is. We're going to preview the Friday game against the Flyers. And then for the Flyer game on Friday, that will be a recap episode of that. And then we'll also preview the Saturday game against the Maple Leafs. So again, that'll do it for this one. Hope you all enjoyed listening to it. I'll be back with you all on Tuesday.